Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into one simple but honestly super powerful trick that will make your English sound way more fluent, more natural, and just more connected. So, let's jump right in.
So, have you ever felt that when you're speaking English, your sentences are, well, they're correct, but they just don't quite flow? Maybe they feel a little stiff, a little robotic. If you felt that, you are definitely not alone. It's a super common feeling.
I mean, just look at this. That is the man. He lives here. He is nice. Each sentence, on its own, is grammatically perfect, right? No mistakes there. But when you say it all together, it sounds kind of choppy, doesn't it? It's like you're building with separate little blocks, instead of creating one smooth, solid structure. And that's exactly what we're going to fix today.
But here's the great news. There is a really simple and honestly kind of elegant way to connect these ideas, to turn those separate blocks into one fluid thought. And that's what this is all about.
And just look at the difference here. On the left, we have our choppy sentences, but on the right, that is the man who lives here. Wow, it just sounds so much better, right? It's smoother, it's more confident, and that tiny little change is one of the biggest keys to sounding more like a native speaker. Now, the tool we just used is called a relative clause. And I know that might sound like some scary, complicated grammar term, but don't even worry about the name. Seriously, just think of it as sentence glue. That's all it is. It's a special little phrase that helps you stick your ideas together, adding extra info without having to stop and start a whole new sentence.
And to use this amazing sentence glue, you really only need to get a handle on 3 key connector words. Think of these as your new toolkit for building bigger, better, more fluent sentences. They're simple, but believe me, they are incredibly powerful.
Okay, first up in our toolkit, who. And this one is super easy to remember. Who is always, always for people. Simple as that. If you're giving extra information about a person, a man, a woman, a friend, a teacher, you use who. Like in the example, the woman who called me.
All right, next up, we've got which. This is basically your go-to connector for, well, everything that isn't a person. We use it for things, for objects, and for animals. So, if you're talking about that dog on the screen, you'd say, the dog which barked. So you see the pattern? Who for people, which for pretty much everything else. And then there's that. Think of that as the flexible, all-purpose tool in your kit. You can actually use it for both people and for things, and you'll hear it all the time in informal, everyday speech. So you could say, the woman that called me, or the dog that barked. Both work. So who and which are more specific, but that is your casual catch-all option. Okay, so theory is one thing, right? But the best way to really get this to stick in your brain is to actually do it. So let's try connecting a few sentences together right now.
So here's our first challenge. We've got 2 pieces of information, the boy and the action plays football. Our job is to stick them together into one smooth phrase.
So what do you think? The boy. That's a person. So which one of our 3 connector words is the right tool for the job here?
Yes, exactly. We use who, the boy who plays football. Perfect. That's how we add that extra detail without a new sentence. Let's just say that out loud a couple times to get the feel for it. The boy who plays football. Again, the boy who plays football.
Ready for another one? Let's keep this going. This time, our 2 pieces are the phone and the action rings.
So what's the move here? A phone? That's a thing, right? Not a person. So which connector word are we going to grab from our toolkit?
You got it. It's which. The phone which rings. It's the perfect connector for an object. Let's say that one a few times too. The phone which rings. The phone which rings. See how nice and smooth that sounds?
All right, last one for our practice round. We've got the cat, and the description sleeps.
So what's the deal with an animal? Is it like a person or more like a thing? What's the right connector to use here?
Perfect. For animals, we use which, just like we do for things. So we get the cat which sleeps. Let's say it slowly to really lock it in. The cat which sleeps. You're doing great.
So there you have it. You've just learned the absolute basics, the fundamental building blocks of these connecting clauses. You've got the tools. Now, in our next explainer, we're going to see how to use these tools in a real story. So before we finish up this first part, let's just do a super quick recap. Honestly, it boils down to this. Who is for people, which is for things and animals, and that is your flexible, informal option for both of them.
If you can remember just those 3 things, you've mastered the basics. Okay, now that you've got the basic rules down, are you ready to see how these little words can totally bring a story to life? How you can use them not just for little phrases, but to build an entire narrative? I really hope so, because in our very next explainer, we're going to put everything we've learned today into practice by telling the story of a very interesting character, the nosy neighbor. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll see you there. All right, welcome back. Today, we're jumping straight into the practical, hands-on skills that are going to make your English sound so much more natural and connected. Okay, so let's dive right in. Last time was all about the theory, but today is all about practice. This is where we take what we know and actually start transforming how you connect your ideas, making your speech way smoother and, honestly, a lot more impressive. Just look at this. This is the perfect example of what we're aiming for. Over on the left, you've got these short, kind of choppy sentences. That is the man, he lives here. It's fine, it works. But look at the right. That is the man who lives here. It's one smooth, fluid idea. That's the goal for today. Okay, first things first. Let's do a quick, active warm-up with the 2 most important tools in our toolbox. These are the absolute foundation for everything else we're going to build today.
So here's the one crucial rule you have to remember. It's really simple. Who is for people, that's it. Which is for everything else, things, animals, ideas, you name it. If you can get this down, you are already way ahead of the game.
Now let's actually build one of these together. We start with our noun, our subject, the boy. Then we have our extra piece of information. He plays football. Now we just use our special connecting word to put them together. Go on, say it out loud with me. The boy who plays football. Great.
Excellent. Let's do it again, but this time with a thing. So our noun is the phone. The information is it rings. The connection? You got it, the phone which rings. Say with me again, the phone which rings. Perfect. See? Same logic, just a different word.
All right, now that we've got the basic rules, let's see how this stuff actually works in a real-life scenario. We're going to do a little people watching with a very nosy neighbor named Mrs. Miller. Let's see what she sees out her window. This is where it starts to get fun.
Okay, so she looks out the window, and this is the first person she spots. Notice that highlighted part, who brings the letters. That little phrase gives us the key information. It tells us it's not just any man walking down the street, it's a very specific one.
Well, that little relative clause tells us his job, right? It's his function. He's the one who brings the letters. Without that phrase, we really wouldn't know who we're talking about.
Now, this is a fantastic example of how you can add a really important detail, like where someone lives, without having to start a whole new sentence. It just flows so much better.
We know exactly where she is. We've pinpointed her. She isn't just any young woman. She is the specific one, the one who lives on the 3rd floor. That who clause is doing all the work for us.
Okay, now look what happens here. Her attention shifts. She sees a dog. And because the noun changed from a person to an animal, our pronoun instantly flips from who to which. It's an automatic switch. Well, that clause tells us exactly what it's doing and where. It's not just any dog, it's the one which is walking in her garden. And you know from Mrs. Miller, that's the most important piece of gossip. All right, you've got the basics down cold. It's time to level up. I'm about to show you a simple trick, a little pro move, that will immediately make you sound so much more like a native speaker. It's all about knowing when you can just leave a word out.
Just listen to the difference here. The movie which I watched. Grammatically, it's perfect. But in a normal, everyday conversation, we'd almost always just say, the movie I watched. It's faster, it's smoother. Same thing with the man who I met. We'd just say, the man I met. It sounds way more natural, doesn't it?
So, what's the secret? When can you do this? Here's the key. If the noun is receiving the action, you can often drop the pronoun. Think about it. The movie was watched by you. The man was met by you. They're on the receiving end. But, and this is super important, if the noun is doing the action, like the man who lives here, you have to keep the who. That's the secret.
Okay, you've seen the rules, you've practiced with our nosy neighbor, and you've even learned the pro move. Now it is your turn. I'm going to describe something using a relative clause, and you have to guess what it is. You ready? Let's play. Okay, round 1. Listen up. It's an animal which is very big and has a trunk. What animal am I thinking of? You've got 3 seconds.
An elephant. Yes, if you said elephant, you got it right. Awesome. Let's go again.
All right, round 2. This is a person, it's a man, who brings gifts and wears red. I think you definitely know this person.
Of course, Santa Claus. You got it. See how that who clause is the only thing that really identifies him? Okay, next one.
Okay, this time we're thinking of a place. It's a city, which has a big tower called Eiffel. Come on, you know this one.
Exactly. Paris, you are doing great. Okay, it is time for the final and I think the most important round. Are you ready?
That's right. The person who is now better at connecting their ideas in English is you. You have the tools. Now you just have to go out and use them.
Welcome back. This is it, the final explainer in our journey through relative clauses. We've laid all the groundwork, and today we're going to connect all the dots. It's time to go from just knowing the rules to actually using them like you've been speaking English your whole life. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with a super quick recap, just to get our brains warmed up. Then I'm going to let you in on the one pro-level trick that will make you sound so much more natural. After that, we'll have some fun and test that skill with a little game. And finally, I'll give you a simple, powerful action plan to make all of this stick.
All right, first up, let's just take a quick peek in the rearview mirror. This is just to make sure we're all on the same page before we jump into the really cool stuff.
So why do we even use these things? Well, this is the whole point, right? They stop us from sounding like a robot. Instead of short, choppy sentences like, that is the man, he lives here, we can combine them into one smooth, fluid sentence. That is the man who lives here. It's all about adding more detail without hitting the pause button.
And of course, the tools we use to build these sentences are our three main pronouns. You know these by now. We've got who for people, which for things or animals, and good old that, which is kind of the informal, all-purpose pronoun for both. Easy enough. That's the foundation.
And now, for the main event, this is what I've been so excited to share with you. This is the simple little secret that really separates textbook English from the way people actually talk. You know, we've spent this whole series learning exactly which pronoun to use. So what if I told you that sometimes the absolute best pronoun to use is no pronoun at all? When can you just get rid of it? Here it is. This is the golden rule. You can drop the pronoun when it's the object of the clause. So what on earth does that mean? Well, it's pretty simple. It just means that the noun isn't doing the action is being done to it. Let me show you, it's way easier than it sounds. Just look at the difference here. The movie which I watched. Is it correct? Yep, 100%. But does it sound natural? Not really. Now look at the right. The movie I watched. Ah, so much better. See, in this sentence, I am the one doing the watching. The movie is just sitting there, receiving the action. It's the object. So we can just drop the which, it's quicker, it's cleaner, and it's how everybody talks. And it works exactly the same for people. The man who I met, totally fine. But the man I met, that's what you're going to hear in movies, on the street, everywhere. Again, I did the meeting, the man received the action of being met. He's the object. So we can drop the who. Seriously, this one little change is probably the biggest leap you can take towards sounding more advanced. Okay, enough theory. How about we have a little fun and see this in action? It's time to play a game I like to call Who Is It? I'm going to give you some clues and you guess what I'm talking about. Ready to play? Okay, first one's up. It is an animal which is very big and has a trunk. Now, quick question. Can we drop the which here? No, right? Because the animal is the one being big. It's the subject. It's doing the verb. So which has to stay? Okay, you got the animal yet? Of course. It's an elephant. Nice one. That was a good warm-up. Let's try another. All right, round 2. It is the man who brings gifts and wears red. So is who the subject or the object? Well, the man is the one doing the bringing, so he's the subject. We have to keep the who. So who is it? It's gotta be Santa Claus. You're getting the hang of this. Here we go, round 3. It is a city which has a big tower called Eiffel. Again, is the city doing the action? Yep, the city has the tower, so the city is the subject. We keep the which. I think you know this one. Yes, Paris? Fantastic. Okay, you ready for the final round? Now, listen really, really closely to this one. It is the person who you see in the mirror every morning. Think about it. Could we drop the who? Who is doing the seeing? You are. The person is the object. They are being seen. So yes, we absolutely could say the person you see in the mirror. See, that's our pro-level trick right there. So, who is it?
It's you, the person who is absolutely crushing this. Awesome job with the game.
Okay, that was fun, but we're moving on to the most important part of this whole series. Because knowing something is great, but making it a natural, automatic part of how you speak and write, that's the real win. So here is your mission. I want you to follow this simple 3-step plan. First, just listen. For the next week, when you're watching a TV show or listening to music, make it a game. Try to catch native speakers dropping the pronoun. You'll be amazed how often it happens. Second, you have to try it. The next time you're talking, push yourself to say the coffee I made instead of the coffee which I made. It might feel a little weird at first, but you've got to experiment. And finally, bring this into your writing. Before you hit send on that next email, just take 10 seconds to scan it for places you can drop a pronoun. It'll make your writing so much stronger. And that's a wrap on our series. But just look at that final quote. It could say, the English that you speak, but it doesn't. It's the English you speak, the pro-level trick, right there to the very end. You've gone from the very basics to the little details that make all the difference. If you really commit to that action plan, I promise you, the way you connect ideas, the flow of your sentences, the English you speak is about to change for good.